I started this podcast talking about an affair. So I feel like we kind of ripped off the Band-Aid and that we
Okay.
can talk about anything. And
Nothing's
I like to
taboo.
swear. Yes, I
Okay.
like to swear. So
Yeah.
fuck is appropriate by all means. Like, let it rip. Welcome back to the Scarlet Edit. I am your host, Nikki Corbett. When this week's guest reached out to me, I jumped to get her on my schedule. Leah Mazur has been divorced not once, not twice, but 3 times. Before even talking with her, I knew that her story and her perspective was one I needed to hear. We had a wonderful conversation about love, life, self-discovery, self-awareness, and how her second divorce forced her to look inward at her own patterns and behaviors that ultimately led her to realize her life's purpose. As the founder of Mindfully Ready and the membership community, The Next Chapter, I hope you enjoy this conversation as much as I did. Let's get into it.
Perfect.
So, Leah, I am so excited that you reached out to me because one of the things that I have literally said from the very beginning, when talking about shame and the different types of shame that women, I think more so than men, end up carrying as we go on our journeys in life and we have these different relationships and we, move forward and we evolve. And yes, like maybe we made a decision in the past that we wouldn't make again in the future, but there can be these different types of shame or this different type of judgment that society places on us. And one of the things that I have literally said is, if there are 2 women and they both are equal in everything, in career, in children, in finances, and where they live, what type of house it is, and one of them has 3 relationships, and each of those relationships over time ends, and one of them has 3 marriages, and each of them over time ends in divorce, why do we judge the one that got married over the one that had the relationships?
So
And
stupid.
right? And so when you messaged me, I was just like, oh my God, I like spoke this conversation into existence.
You manifested this. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's still this taboo thing. People make such a big deal out of divorce, and I make content about this all the time about how divorce is just a breakup. It's just a more complicated and a more expensive one. But at the end of the day, it's just a relationship that for whatever reason didn't work. And the fact that people just take it to the point where they're judging people about it and accusing people of things because of it. And it's just this stigma that like we just can't seem to shake. It's just, to me, seems so silly, especially because it's something that's so common. It's
Yeah.
not like divorce is like, ooh, I don't know anyone who's ever gotten divorced. I mean, are you kidding me? Like,
Yeah.
at least half of the people you know have probably been divorced, right? Or like, or know somebody
if
who
we're
has.
looking at straight statistics, it literally is at least half of the people that you know. Yeah.
Yes. So I personally don't understand why we're still making it such a big deal and why we shame people for walking away from relationships that are just no longer serving them or aren't healthy for
Mhm.
them or just aren't aligned with who they are or what they want. I think people should just live their lives and try to be true to themselves and try to do what makes them happy.
Yeah. I mean, I'm certainly with you on living your life and doing what makes you happy and making the best choices for yourself as you kind of
Yes.
continue on. Um, I am curious your perspective. So I've been divorced once and people have asked me all the time, "Oh, do you want to get married again?" And I've more been like, I'm not sure. I
Yeah.
definitely want a relationship. I want a long-term commitment. I want to be with somebody to, enjoy life with. I don't necessarily know that I want the legality from whichever state I happen to be living in, the filing this piece of paper with them. And I
Yeah.
say that usually because I remember I was like mind blown when my ex-husband and I went to get our marriage license. It was like $43 or something.
Hmm.
We filled out the paperwork, we did the thing, we got married, then we filed it all, blah, blah, blah. Fast forward, 4 years, we're deciding to get divorced. I get the paperwork together. I take it down to the courthouse. I go to file it. She's like, that'll be $465. And I'm like, huh?
Yeah. It's a
What?
racket.
Yeah. And then on top of it, I meeting with an attorney and kind of saying like, "Hey, look, like do I really even need an attorney? Can we just do this on our own? Like it's very simple. For the most part it's amicable." Like and then, realizing that because of our different employment, like that, yeah, you kind of want to get some of these things in writing for any potential things that could come up in the future that were taking place while you were married. So, then there's that other cost on top of it. So for me, I'm kind of like, that was a bunch of time and money and quite frankly, added pain that neither of us really needed. So for me,
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, do I need that piece of paper filed or could I just have, like the commitment and, maybe we wear rings or we have a commitment ceremony with friends. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
Same. I think you just have to do whatever feels right for you. Some people just really want to be married. And I think that there are also certain benefits that our government allots to people who are legally married versus people who aren't, right? Whether that's like medical stuff or insurance
Mhm.
or tax things. I mean, there's some things that
Yeah.
kind of change when you are legally married. But I don't think it's necessary. I mean, if you're somebody who just wants to be in a committed relationship and you just feel like you don't want to have the hassle of having to, if you break up, having it to have to be so complicated and expensive, then don't. I think that that's the thing is like you have to just do what's right for you, whatever that looks like. And yeah, I mean, like I love being in love. I love being in relationships. And so even after I've been divorced multiple times, um, I mean, I would never say never if I'd get married again. It would have to be like I don't know what my incentive to get married again is, but by all means, like if you want to get married 10 times, get married 10 times. I think you just do
Yeah.
what you want to do.
One of the things I do wonder is, I'm sure got comments from the more like religious side crowd
Oh
about the
yeah.
sanctity of marriage and, you're making these promises before God and witnesses and family and friends and again, I've often said like I'm not dismissing the sanctity of marriage. I'm just more looking at it as, unfortunately, whether you like it or not, marriage is kind of like a business deal.
Yeah,
I
it
mean,
is. That's
you're
exactly
filing
what it is.
paperwork and yeah, and it's like, do you wanna go through all of those different things? And yes, I mean, I definitely think like the medical piece, I think that's super important. I mean, if I were to be with somebody long term and we made the decision to not get married, I would wanna have some sort of medical directive that like, yeah, hey, he can make decisions for me on my behalf if
Mhm.
something, were to go awry.
Right.
Um, and then, yeah, I mean, God, the tax thing though, too, I remember that pissed me off so bad when I went in. I was working for a corporation at the time, and I went in and I changed my whatever it is on the inside W-4, I think, and I changed it from married to single. And all of a sudden, my take home pay decreased. And I was like, wait, I'm getting punished
I
tax
know.
wise because I'm no longer married? Like, make that make sense.
I know. I know. And I think that that's part of the problem is like there are still so many things that we are being offered or that things that will make our lives easier if we do take that step and make it a legal thing as opposed to just like being in some kind of long-term committed relationship or just living together. Like there are things that almost sometimes even put people in positions where they feel like they have to make that decision. Which again is like so silly then when if something happens to the relationship and they feel like they have to walk away, then we shouldn't be shaming them for that. Like because like
Yeah.
we're in a position where like you're making things easier for me or less expensive for me or by getting married. So I guess that's what we have to do. I mean, there's a lot of people that get married just because of things like that. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily because that's what they want. They want to be married, but it's like they feel like that's the only way that they can do things, right? Like whether it comes
Mhm.
taxes or medical things or whatever. So, yes, I feel like maybe that needs to change and then maybe the amount of people that get married will change. I mean, who knows?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I remember this was, 20 plus years ago now, but I mean, I had a boyfriend at the time and he had married his girlfriend that he had met when he was overseas playing in a European football league. And he
Oh,
had married her so they were
like
happy and they
come
wanted
over.
to be together. And then she came over
Yeah.
and they realized that they didn't want to be together, but he like, would not divorce her until she got her green card, and I remember being like, "That's, like, 6 years from now," and I was like, "I'm outta here, dude, like, I'm not gonna wait around for this."
Yeah.
But I mean, I know now it's, like, exponentially harder for people to just marry for citizenship than it was, like, 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Right. That's true.
So tell me about your journey with being married and divorced, because I am super curious, like how all of that evolved and how you found yourself where you are today with all of this knowledge and experience.
So after a lot of therapy and reflecting, I learned a lot about myself and why I kept finding myself in unhealthy relationships. When I was 16 years old, my mom had an asthma attack and died, like, in our
Oh
apartment. It was
God.
crazy. It was traumatic. Obviously,
Oh
it's
my God.
was very, very hard. And then 5 years later, my dad died of pancreatic cancer, and I'm an only child. So really, by like 21 years old, it was just me in the world, right, figuring everything out.
Yeah.
And so, what I didn't know at the time was that that left me with really deep seated abandonment issues, fear of being
Mm.
alone, right? And so my coping mechanism became like serial monogamy. Like I was just in and out of relationships because I felt like if I wasn't in a relationship, I literally was just like floating around on the planet, like just not tethered to anything or anyone. So
Uh-huh.
relationships became like my buoy to stay afloat. So relationship after relationship. And, after my first marriage didn't work out, right back to dating. And then when that relationship didn't work out, right back on the dating apps, and I got married again. And it was about 2 years after we got married, we realized it was not a healthy relationship. And so my second divorce really was like my ugly wake up call. Like that was like,
Oh.
okay, what is going on? Why do I keep finding
Hmm.
myself in these types of relationships? Like what is really the deeper issue here? And so then I dove into all the things like the personal development shit, right? The
Yeah.
journaling and meditation and mindfulness. And I was working with a therapist and just like doing whatever I could to cultivate self-awareness so I could figure out how to make different choices that would give me different results.
Hmm.
So once I did that and realized that it really was this fear of being alone, I knew I just had to face that fear of being alone and dive in and like deal with that and figure out how to get comfortable there. So I had to quit my job and get a job that paid a little bit more so that I could afford a place with just my daughter and myself. So I was, working full time, raising her alone. And during lockdown is when I really started wanting to figure out what I wanted to do. I knew I wanted to help people. I just never knew how. And I came across life coaching. And the more I learned about it, I was like, holy shit, like this is what I was made to do. Like I was born for this. And so
Awesome.
then I got some certifications and I decided that I just wanted to help divorced women, right? Because I had
Hmm.
at that point now I've done it twice myself. I had a lot of tools. I knew a lot of things that you shouldn't do and things that you got to avoid and the things that really are important and how to get yourself to that place where you can release the guilt and the shame and rebuild your self-confidence and lean into the independence and embrace it. And I just had all these tools at that point. And so I decided I wanted to just empower other women to try to avoid making some of the same, mistakes that I did.
I love that. I love that so much because I think that there is so much power in doing something from experience,
Yeah.
and I think that it helps other people kind of feel better about, "Oh, okay, like, I've been through this, but, like, look how great she's doing, so maybe I can get to that point too, and maybe I should be unapologetic, and maybe I should be, like, still passionate and excited and believing that I can have everything I want." I mean, that's my biggest
Yes.
driver in all of this and doing this podcast is that, like, yeah, like I was the other woman. I had a long-term affair, but that doesn't mean that I'm like, oh, I'm a horrible person or I'm not
Right.
deserving of what it is that I want. And I want
Right.
other people to feel that way as well.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, we can have such cruel people in our lives, like we were talking about,
Mm,
like there's still such a stigma, but um I just truly believe that like staying in a relationship that you don't want to be in is just it's such a waste. I mean, like
yeah.
who is that serving? What purpose does that serve? How like it just
Right.
makes no sense to me why people would rather see you do that than just leave and like either go be alone or go find a better fit and a better partner for
Mhm.
for you. Um So, I mean, I'm just I'm not built to settle. I just that's
Mhm.
not how I'm wired. Like, I will never settle, and, um, I think me just sharing my story and my journey has been very helpful for a lot of other women who maybe aren't at that point yet, and they have to kind of get the confidence to get to the point where they're like, yeah, you know what? I do want more for myself, or yeah, I do deserve better, or yeah, this relationship has been shit for 15 years. Like, what am I still doing in this situation? And kind of just giving them the permission to be honest with themselves and take those steps to better their lives. And I think the thing is too, like, a lot of people don't believe that that kind of like level of happiness is actually possible. Like, a lot of people think it's
Mm.
just kind of like in the movies or a fairy tale, and like, no, this is real life. Like, marriage is, where we fight all the time, or like, he's
Yeah.
insulting me in front of our family when they come over, but like, that's just him, whatever it is. Like, they don't believe that it's possible to
Mhm.
really live a life that, like, feels good every day and is
Yes.
fulfilling. And I'm not saying it's like some fairy tale where, like, you still, shit doesn't happen. Of course, like, life is going to happen, adversity is going to happen, but like, you can like yourself, you can like your life, you can create a fulfilling life, you can find a partner who you're aligned with on all of the levels, like mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. Like, those things exist, but you
Yeah.
have to be the one to take action to make that happen. And you have to believe that it's even possible for yourself to find something like that.
Oh my god, I love everything you're saying. It's just it's so true and it's so refreshing, and I think there are so many people. I mean, one of the things that you said you did was, like, after your second divorce, you were like, "Okay, wait, what is going on here? Like, what do I need to learn about myself from this?" And that
Yeah.
is so important because sometimes you'll hear people talking and they're like, "Oh my gosh, like, all of my exes are awful and they're all these things." And it's like, "Okay, babe, but the common denominator is you."
Yes.
So,
Yes.
I mean, and sometimes those conversations with ourselves, they can be hard, and you can be standing looking
Oh,
in the mirror and realizing, like, "Fuck, like, I have some work to do." Like, "Takes two to tango." That's
yes.
a saying for a reason,
Yeah,
and
it's
I think
it's it's
so.
really rough. It could be really
Mhm,
ugly looking in the mirror, but that's the thing, and so that's why so many people avoid it. But it's so
mhm,
easy to come out of a relationship like pointing the finger, like, "Well, he never
mhm.
did this, and he did this, and this is why." And all of those are valid, I'm sure. But as you
Yeah,
said, you did play a role, right? And until you can reflect and own that and take responsibility for the role you played, you're not going to be able to make better decisions moving forward and like
mhm.
pick better partners for yourself. Like, what red flags did you miss or ignore? What
Yes.
boundaries were you not setting? What things do you never want to tolerate it again in a relationship? What things do you need in a partner that you weren't getting in that? Like, everybody plays a role. And so when you do that, it empowers you to figure out what you want to do differently next time.
Mhm. I found myself at that place a few years ago, and it was, like, such a like, almost, like, strange moment where I was like, "Oh," like, I was on vacation with my mom, and I remember I got up to use the bathroom, and it was like I was washing my hands, and all of a sudden, it was like this thought just jumped into my head, and I was like, "I value myself." And I and not to say that, like, I treated myself like garbage prior to having that moment, but it was this really pivotal moment for me in my kind of self-growth journey, and I was like, "Holy shit," like, I've never looked in the mirror and said that to myself before. So
Yeah.
it's like I just kept repeating that over and over and over as the rest of that vacation went on, and I think that that was, like, such a like, it was such a period of time where, so many other things, like, started to change. Hey everyone, are you enjoying this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it? If so, forward it to a friend, rate it 5 stars, send me a note with your feedback. I absolutely love hearing from you. And while you have your phone in your hand, head on over to Instagram and subscribe to our page at thescarlet.edit. All right, let's get back to the show. But did you notice when you first started implementing, like, your new boundaries and your new values that it was a little intimidating?
Oh, 100%. I mean, I'm a recovering people pleaser, like, to my core, right? And so,
Mhm.
and first, I didn't even know like, I heard people throwing around the term boundaries, but I didn't really know what that meant or looked like, and it's not telling someone to stop doing something or asking them to do something different, and a boundary is me. Like, I can't control anyone else. It's me deciding
Yes.
what feels good, what doesn't feel good, what do I will I tolerate, what won't I? And then what's the consequence if that person doesn't respect that thing, which is again
Mhm.
me. What's the thing I'm going to do for me to protect my peace? So, it was something that I had to kind of fumble through and figure out how to do, but the more you do it, the easier it does become. And I
Mhm.
always tell my clients to just start small. Like sometimes it's just speaking up, like advocating for yourself. For example, if you're in a group text with a few of your girlfriends and you guys are trying to pick a restaurant and they land on a place that you know you're going to like walk out of that place shit in your pants, right? Like it's just not going to sit well with
Right.
you. Speak up. Like be like, "You know what?
Mhm.
Like I would rather go somewhere else. Here are a couple other options." Or like that's not going to work for me, but like thanks for the invite or it's just little like speak up for yourself, or, and when you can do it in small ways like that, you can kind of gain momentum to be able to do it in more serious conversations or
Yes.
dynamics with people who are a little more maybe touch and go, right? Like if it's your
Mhm.
mother who like you really struggle saying no to, or if it's your co-parent, like I see that all the time. Moms who are
Oh, yeah.
divorced and co-parenting with someone who just wants to make their life hell. That's the only way you can protect your peace is figuring out how to start setting and enforcing boundaries.
Yeah. No, it's so true, and I know when I first started doing those, I mean, it was more so with men. I think that that's where I needed to learn them better, but I
Mhm.
remember the first time I, like, stood up for myself and said something and was just, like, pushed back and was like, "No." Immediately, I was like, "Ooh, that felt good." Like, I'm
Right? Who's
stronger, I'm more
this? Yeah.
empowered, and then it became easier to just be like, "No, like, this is like, I've told you, like, this doesn't work for me." And then
Yeah.
now, like, the block button is my absolute favorite feature of any phone and app because I'm just like, "Oh, okay, no thank you. Block.
Yes. Yes.
Goodbye.
And it
Block."
does it comes down to really how you view yourself. Like you were saying, I value myself. It comes like how
Mhm.
what is the inner narrative, that inner dialogue? How do you speak to yourself? How do you speak to your
Mhm.
like about yourself when you're talking to other
Yes.
people? The more you can create a positive and supportive environment in your own brain, like
Yes.
the
Yes.
the the easier all of this other stuff becomes. When you really believe, like, no, like I am the prize. I can bring these things to the table.
Yes.
I am worthy of happiness. I do deserve these things. When you really believe that, it becomes infinitely easier to
Mhm.
set and enforce boundaries or advocate for yourself or just say no, like I'm sorry, like that is not something that I'm interested in. I will not be participating in that. Block, it because you know your worth.
Yes. Negative self-talk, I think, is such a big thing that we almost can get to a point where we do it so often that we don't even recognize it.
Yes.
And that was another thing that I spent a lot of time working on is eliminating the negative self-talk. And
Yes.
I think I've got to a point where I am very good at it. Although, so this is funny for a number of reasons to me. So I was traveling over the summer and I'm a very well-seasoned traveler. So I'm very like meticulous when I'm packing. Like I know what I bring, like I know how I set myself up in hotel rooms, whatever it may be. For some reason, 2 days in a row, because I was at one hotel, I checked out, I went to another hotel, and then the next morning I checked out of there and I went to the airport. Both times, I left the first hotel, I'm maybe 10 minutes from it and I go, "Oh my god, I left something in the safe." Never have done that in years of traveling. So I have the guy turn around, take me back, I go up to the room, get it, everything was fine. Go to the next hotel, get everything checked in. I even, like, knew where everything was, double checked the safe before I left, but I had left a little something in the refrigerator. So again, I have to tell the guy to turn around. And in that moment, in that when that happened the second time, my negative self-talk just I was like, "God, I'm such an idiot. I'm blah, blah."
Yes.
And then I literally am sitting in the back of this taxi and I stop myself and I'm speaking out loud again, but I'm saying positive things. I'm like, "Nope." I'm like everyone makes mistakes. You're okay.
Yes.
You're smart. You're well traveled. You've done this a million times. And I was just like, this taxi
Yes.
driver probably is like
like,
What's going
thinks
on
you're
with this
crazy.
girl?
Yeah, but that's
Totally.
literally what you have to do. You have to be your
Mhm.
own cheerleader. I always tell my clients to
Yeah.
you have to practice speaking to yourself the way you would your best
A
friend who you
friend.
love. If your
Yes.
best friend was
Yes.
the one who was like, "Fuck, Nikki, I can't believe I did this again. I left something in the refrigerator." Like, you wouldn't be like, "You're such a dumb bitch. You suck at this whole travel."
Right.
Like, you wouldn't talk to her like that. You'd be like, "It's
No.
fine. Like, we had a lot on our mind. Shit happens. Like, we forget things." Like,
Yeah.
that's how you have to speak to yourself. Like, you have to forgive yourself and be compassionate and be your own cheerleader. And like, but you said it before, like, you have to realize that's even happening. You really have to
Mhm.
work on creating that self-awareness so that you're tuned in to what is even going on up there and like the things that you are saying about yourself. Because especially if you've been doing it so long, it's really like a habit. Like, you're not even paying attention to the fact that you are speaking to yourself that way or about yourself. So doing simple things like even journaling is so underrated, but a
Mhm.
great free, easy, accessible way to start cultivating self-awareness, to kind of get what's in here like out on paper so that you can see it more objectively and track your progress. And that kind of brings things to your attention that you may not be paying attention to otherwise. And then once you realize it, then you can be a little bit more mindful of, okay, the next time I feel this way about myself, I know I'm going to remind myself, no, like, it's okay. Things happen. I'm learning. I can forgive myself. Everybody makes mistakes, and then it's like a training. You're retraining your brain to kind of go from being this like hypercritical person to like the default setting of, okay, like, we can let things slide. We could be a little more compassionate. We could give ourselves a little bit more grace through these things.
All of these little tiny things. It's like in reality, it's like there are all these little tiny things and these little tiny changes that we just keep making, but then you get to a point where you're like, "Whoa, look at
Yeah.
where I am. Like, how
Yes.
did I get here?" And then when you have those reflective points, then you start having these moments like I had in the taxi where I was like, "I haven't talked to myself like this in months, like years. Like, why am I letting this really just irk me so bad?" And you're so right. It's like you would never say that to a friend. I'd never be like,
No.
"Oh my god, Leah, you're such a fucking moron. I can't believe you
Yeah.
forgot something in the safe." Like, no, it's be like,
You would
"Okay, come on, who
never.
cares? We'll turn around. We'll go
Yes.
get it. Like, it's all good."
Yes. Not a
Yeah.
big deal. Things happen. You didn't do it on
Yeah.
purpose. You had a lot on your mind. You had a lot to remember, right? So, yes. And you're right. Like, those little changes. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize, right? They hear all these little things that you're supposed to do, like journaling and self-talk and gratitude practice and all these things. And they're like, yeah, it's all cliche. But those little things really add up to massive changes. Like, you will become a completely different human being at the end of
Mhm.
this if you really start implementing these little cliche things into your life, because it's all a mindset game. All of it.
Yeah.
Like, if
Yeah,
you wanna
1000%.
release the shame and the guilt and you wanna build your confidence and you wanna start setting boundaries and you wanna like feel good about who you are, it's all a mindset game. And so these are like the little tools that you can start using to help you tweak and get there to the place where you know who you are and you like who you are and you know your worth and you know what you bring to the
Yes.
table and you build your self-confidence.
Absolutely. Okay, so you just brought up the whole like shame and judgment piece again. So I want to go back after you did all of this work and you had got through your second divorce, you had realized your life's calling to help other women. As you were putting yourself back out in the dating game, did
Mhm.
you have like, any sense of trepidation, any nervousness about, "Oh gosh, like, here I'm putting myself out there again. I'm a different version of myself, so I'm excited to see what types of men I attract." But what
Yeah.
was that experience like for you?
Honestly, it was completely different because I was coming from such a different place. Like, before that work, I would show up with the mindset of, are they going to like me? Am I going to say the right thing? Am I going to do the right
Mm,
thing? Are they going to call me back? Am I wearing the right thing?
mm,
And then it shifted to, are you what I'm looking for? Are you going to add
yes.
value to my life? Are you like, do I like you? Right? Like it just
Yes.
changed the whole game. And so no, I honestly really wasn't nervous because I didn't need it. That's the
Mhm.
thing. It's like, you got to get yourself to a place where you can want a relationship, but you don't need one to make you feel whole or happy or enough or fulfilled. You don't need one in order to fill a void in your life, right? It's like I got myself to a place where like even if this didn't work out, it's fine. I don't need it to. Like I'm still okay. I got things going on for me in my life and so I could be way more picky. You know, I knew what my deal breakers were. I had higher standards and if someone like ghosted me or rejected me, it was not sending me into the fetal position with like my Haagen-Dazs in the corner because like I didn't care. It didn't need to work. But
Yeah.
then like it also takes the pressure off of dating because then when you do meet someone and let's say it is going well, you can really just be more present with it and take it day by day because you know no matter what, like if this goes somewhere, great, bonus. But if it doesn't, that's okay too. I don't
Mhm.
need it to.
I was saying that on another podcast recently where I feel like sometimes women, we get so worked up about wanting to meet someone that
Mhm.
when we're out dating, we're sitting at the table thinking like, "Oh my god, I hope he likes me," instead of
Yes.
like, "Wait, do I like him? Is he the
Yes.
right person for me? Is he worthy of my time, my energy, my attention, my body, my space, all of the things?" And I think getting to that point is so important. So then you
Yes.
can be so much more discerning with where it is that you're spending your time and not overlooking red flags, not hoping that, oh, well, like maybe this won't bother me later on. I was telling
Yes.
somebody recently if something bothers you when you're dating, it's going to bother you exponentially more once you're married. Like,
Those are all the things
trust
that
me
will
on
cause
that.
that the demise of that relationship.
Yes, exactly. And
Yes,
it's
and
so
yeah, it's so
important to
true.
learn those.
We date at the same level as our self-esteem. So,
Mhm.
like, when I look back to the partners I was choosing, 100% it was because I just wasn't in a good place personally. Like, I settled because I didn't know myself. I didn't know my worth. I didn't feel good about myself. So I was settling for people that were just willing to like give me attention or willing to
Mm.
like not judge me as well no, now she's got all this baggage. Now she's divorced and she's got a kid. You know, it's like in my mind I'm like, well, who's going to want me now? And I'm only getting older and it's only going to oh, well he's texting me back. So I guess he's, you know, if he's going to give me attention. It's like when you get to a place where you are just solid on your own, you will be so much more picky and you will have standards and you
Yeah.
won't be afraid to just say no because you don't need it that bad. And so you can show up in a whole different headspace and decide, you know, are you worth my time?
I feel like that's exactly the headspace that I'm in right now. So I'm like, you have to really bring a lot of value to the table because everything that I'm doing, everything that I'm working on, the people that I've surrounded myself with, my family, my friends, my dog, I'm like, my life is pretty fucking fantastic. So
Right.
there's not going to be any sort of like concessions made early on for anybody because I'm really happy right here, right now.
Yes. Yes. That's such a powerful place to be.
It is, it is. So, when you did finally meet I don't know, I hate saying finally, I'm trying to eliminate words from my vocabulary that, like, are, like, just big and kind of, like, sweeping. So, when you did meet the man who ended up being your 3rd husband, what
Mhm.
was that like?
Completely different from any other relationship. It was easy. I mean, it was the healthiest relationship I had ever been in until that point. Somebody who we had this mutual respect. We both respected ourselves as individuals. We respected each other. It was a beautiful relationship that taught me a lot about myself and a lot about relationships and I feel like it was exactly what I needed for that time in my life. And after about 6 years, mutually, we realized that there was some incompatibilities that couldn't be fixed or changed, and it was important for us to be able to walk away with our friendship still intact. We didn't want to try to force something to work that we knew wasn't aligned anymore. And he's an amazing stepdad to my daughter, and I will be forever grateful that he is in her life and will remain in her life, and that he's a friend to me, and that I can still call him. And it's was the most peaceful, stress-free, easy ending ever that like I've ever had because I was in such a different place when I met him, and, like, when we started
Yeah.
that relationship, it's like you know, I'm the type of person that believes that everybody comes into your life for a reason and for a season, right? Some people are really meant to walk with you till the end, and some people are brought into your life to teach you something, maybe about yourself or life or relationships or whatever. And then you get to a point where then maybe you're continuing on your journey of growth and evolution, and they're just kind of not meant to come with you side by side, right? They kind of serve their purpose, and then you keep going. And that's just how I live my life personally.
Mm, I feel like the universe brings me people as it is meant to, and I am just laughing internally as you're saying all of that because I was just yesterday having a conversation with a friend and we were talking about friendships. And I was saying how I feel like that saying a reason, a season, or a lifetime. It's so true. But I think that we often overlook the season like part of that phrase. We can very clearly identify reasons, right? If somebody comes in and maybe there's like something bad happens and you learn a lot from it, or
Yeah.
somebody comes in and they're amazing and we kind of when we click and we have this great relationship, whether it's a friendship or a relationship, and we're just like, oh my God. And so we automatically just put them on this lifetime track or this bucket,
Yeah.
forgetting that we're constantly evolving as human beings and
Yes.
that like and so I said maybe we need to start looking at the seasonality piece and acknowledging that for the most part most people are gonna be seasonal,
Yes.
and I think that it makes it so much easier to move forward when it's time for, our paths to diverge. So
Yes.
I love
I
that you just
agree.
said that.
Yeah. And it's hard, and sometimes it's really hard, but I think at the end of the day, it's always gonna come down to, are you being honest with yourself? Are you
Mhm.
living your life in an authentic way? Or are you making decisions based off of what you think you should do, or what people think you're supposed to do, or what other people do with their lives, right? Like, there's no handbook. Like,
Right.
everybody's different, your journey is different, your timeline's different, your experience is different, you're different. So
Yeah.
you have to just do what is right for you, what feels right for you, what makes sense for you, and what is your truth. Like, just living your truth. I really, um, I just feel like there's no way that could steer you wrong.
Yeah, there's no how to be a human for dummies, right?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
there
Yeah, we're all just winging it here.
we're all trying to figure it out and just do our best.
Yeah. So, one of the things that you said about how this last relationship has been so easy and so amicable, and
Mhm.
like you wanted to maintain your friendship, you wanted to keep him in your daughter's life. Do
Yes.
you find that people are like mind blown by that? And I ask that because my ex husband and I have now been divorced for gosh over 7 years, no over
Mhm.
8 years, and there are people periodically more so to him than to me, they'll say this, but they're just like, I can't believe that you're friends. Like, I can't believe you still talk to her."
Yeah.
And we're both kinda like, "Well, okay, but, we have a friendship, and
Right. I
that
think because in
didn't."
in a lot of people's minds, if you got divorced, then that must mean you hate each other, right? Because
Yeah,
if you don't hate each other and you can be friends, well, then why did you get divorced?
right.
It's like,
Yeah, because
well,
that's
it's
the
not
only
that black and
thing.
white.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
there is a gray area. So it's like you
Yeah.
can you can realize that, like, maybe you're not compatible for whatever reasons, or you just don't share common goals anymore, or I mean, there could be a million reasons that, like, you decide that you're just not uh it's not the right person for you, but that doesn't mean you have to hate each other, or that you can't still maintain some kind of healthy relationship moving forward. I mean, especially, again, it's important if you're as long as you're two healthy adults, like adults who respect themselves and respect each other, it's a lot easier to maintain that kind of relationship and, like, have an easier breakup, and be able to maybe stay in touch afterwards. And and especially because, like, he's such an important part in my daughter's life now. Like, they have an amazing relationship that has nothing to do with me. And so, and I
Mhm.
I want them to continue to nurture that. My mom, my parents separated when I was like 3, and my mom remarried. And so I had a stepdad. And then even after she passed away, he was a ride or die. He was in my life,
Oh,
forever. He actually, I just lost him last year. He passed away.
no.
And we've always maintained our relationship, and it had nothing to do with my mom or like their relationship, right? And so I think just again, like, you have to just do whatever makes sense for you. Like, life is weird, people
Yeah.
relationships are weird. Like, there's no right or wrong or black and white. It's just like, well, what do you want? And like, what will work for you?
This week's episode is brought to you by my Patreon community, Rewritten. Inside this space, you will find resources, live Q&As, opportunities to connect with others in the privacy of a judgment-free zone, and so much more. I want to build this community together, a society of women who are choosing the best for ourselves, who are shaking off the stigma or shame of past decisions and using our history to shape our futures. I believe the love I desire is out in the world for me, and while there are decisions in my past I would not make again, each of them shaped the woman that is here today, and I love her something fierce. Come check out the Patreon. Anyone who signs up between now and October 31st, the first month, is free. I look forward to seeing you inside. Now back to our episode. I think also so much of it boils down to communication and being actually able to open your mouth, get the words out, share what it is that you are feeling, thinking, wanting, needing. And I think, unfortunately, that fails. I think the communication piece is just what fails first and then is kind of the catalyst for all these other things to end up happening. And yeah, of course, there are certainly people that grow apart, going back to the whole seasonality thing of
Yeah.
relationships. But if you can't communicate with one another, it's just really tough to continue.
It is. Yeah. I mean, that's like one of the pillars, right? It's like communication, respect, trust. Like, those are things that are just like vital. And once one of those pillars are knocked out, it's really hard to rebuild, right? Like, the foundation isn't going to be strong. But yeah, and communication, it's a two-part thing, right? You first have to, again, have that self-awareness to be able to sit with yourself and understand yourself, like your own thoughts and your own needs first, so that you have the capacity to communicate really what you need to the other person. And then they have to be able to do the same thing. Like, if somebody makes you mad, communicating like, what you did really pissed me off, or like, what you did was really almost like an accusatory or way, that's not really going to solve any problem. So it's almost like sitting with yourself and trying to process it and going, okay, so when they said this thing, it made me mad, but it made me mad because it made me feel like I wasn't being heard. Right. So
Yeah,
really the problem is, I don't feel like I'm being heard, or I don't feel like I'm being seen or understood. That's the core issue. And my reaction to that was anger. So now I know what my problem is. And now I can go back to that person. I can go, listen, when you said this thing, it really made me feel like I wasn't being heard. And then my emotional reactivity led to anger. The anger part, not your fault, not your responsibility, but I just need to communicate that when you do this, it makes me feel like this, right? But like, if
absolutely.
you don't know why you're
Yeah.
feeling certain ways, then you can't solve the problem.
And I think that it- being able to recognize to separate the words from your own feelings is so important, because there are so many times where people say things and we have a reaction there, and then they could be like, oh, no, 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 that's not how I meant for you to feel. I was just saying this.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, okay. But being able to communicate those things again is like really important.
Huge. And again, that just goes back to, like, you have to do all that work yourself
Yeah.
before so that when you are in a relationship, you can have those healthy conversations with each other.
Hmm. So I'm curious if people in your community and people that you work with, as they were working with you and seeing you, okay, you were married, you had a child,
Mhm.
you got divorced, you got married again, you got divorced, you created this community, you did all these things, then you got married again. Did you ever feel like, or has anyone ever told you like, wow, like I you make me believe that like I can get there, and then having to share with people that that relationship had ended and you were getting divorced again? What was that type of reaction, or how did you approach that with your community?
Yeah, I was just honest with them. I think, we romanticize relationships, right? Like,
Oh, wow.
from the day we're born, we're spoon-fed the Disney stories of, like, the prince and the princess and, like, the Jerry Maguires and the You Complete Me, and, like, it's just really bullshit. Like, at the end of the day, you are your most important relationship, and so
Mhm,
it's not like, "Oh, you made me believe in love again, and so, and happily ever after." It's like, no, like, my happily ever after is, like, I like myself. I I know who I am, I love myself, I respect myself, like, that is my power move, like, and who knows how many relationships I will or will not have until the day that I die, but, like, it's not about them. It's about me and, like, how I
yeah,
feel about myself and how I show up in my life. And so, yes, of course, I mean, of course, like, I'm a human. There was a lot of things that came up in my mind. I even in the beginning, I was dealing with my own guilt and shame. I mean, I'm not gonna,
mhm,
of course, because nobody gets married thinking that they're gonna get divorced, and so a
yeah,
lot is gonna come up. But I had the tools to process it very quickly and to really, my perspective and my mindset. I mean, it's just very healthy because I've worked so hard to get to that place, and I think at the end of the day, it's just, as long as I'm just living my truth and I'm sharing my truth with people, the most important thing to me is not giving people this false hope, but it's just giving them permission to just do what feels right for them. Like, that's it. Like, that's my message. Like, I just want you to be happy and do what really is like your authentic truth, right? And so if that's
mhm,
like finding one person and being married to that person for the rest of your life, I'm so happy for you. And if it's,
totally.
you keep trying and you wind up with 3 more divorces, girl, good for you for not settling and, like, keep on going. Like, like, there's no
Yeah.
right or wrong answer. Like, you just have to just be honest with yourself.
Yeah. No, I mean, I love it because I'm a hopeless romantic. I love love. I want
Same.
everybody to have love. I think everybody deserves to be loved and to feel love and to go out
Yes.
and find that love. I was a guest on a show that recorded yesterday and he asked me, he said, like, what's scarier to you? Not finding anyone or falling in love again and getting your heart broken. And I said, well, not finding anyone is more scary because I'm still here. I've had my heart broken a
Yeah.
handful of times. I'm still here and I love love. I want to be in love again.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah,
Same. I do. I love love. My divorces are never going to um make me feel like, like
no,
there's no such thing as true love, or like there's nobody for me out there. Like, I don't believe that at all. I think that, again, like, I mean, the people coming into your life for seasons. So I look forward to whatever that looks like for me, like whatever that next season is going to be. And I definitely believe that there's more partners to experience in this lifetime for me before I die.
I love that. So before we go, I know I would be remiss given my audience is mostly women in the 35 to 60 age range. So I feel like I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about your daughter and how you've managed her thoughts, feelings, emotions, all of the things as you've gone through these relationship journeys.
So when I divorced her dad, she was only like a year and a half old. So honestly, she doesn't remember us even being together or remember any of
Mhm.
that divorce. My second divorce, I think she was about like 6 years old, so still pretty young. Um, but when I had that conversation with her, I just, like, kids just want to know how it's going to affect them personally, right? Like, what does this mean for me? What does this look like for me, right? So I just kept it kind of fact based, told her what we were going to do. We're going to move out. We're going to have our own place. You get to decorate your new room. You're going to stay in the same school, just kind of explaining to her how it affected her, and then just
Mhm.
continued to live my life. And then, she adjusted to it. Um, and then with this one, it's really been, new for all of us, and the most important thing, so now she's 14, and so the most important thing for me was to make sure that she knew he wasn't going anywhere, right? Like,
Mm.
he is a very important person in her life, and he's a healthy person. He's somebody who I am grateful that he is in her life, and I want them to continue their relationship. And I think in this dynamic, it wasn't. The only thing that would have been scary for her is if he would have just like disappeared, right? And not been in her life anymore. That would have been devastating for her. But luckily, I married a good dude, and he loves her just as much as she loves him, and he's made it a priority to stay in her life. And so I think just letting her feel her feelings, like, depending on how old your kids are, it's really just kind of like giving them a space to feel whatever feelings are going to come up, and then being there to answer any questions that they have, cultivating a environment where they feel like they can come to you and talk about things and ask you questions, um and then just support them through it. Like, here's the other thing: you can't protect your kids from like the adversity of life, right? Like,
Yeah, yeah.
so many people stay in relationships or marriages because they're so afraid of that it's going to like negatively affect their kids. There's been study after study after study after study that shows like staying in an unhealthy relationship is far worse for your children than divorcing that person and living in two houses. So it's like, adversity is going to happen. How do you guide them through it? That's the thing. What coping mechanisms are you giving them? What tools are you giving them? Like, how are you teaching them to navigate through the adversity? Like, that's really the power play. Like, teaching them these life skills, because this is not the first or last time they're going to face something that's hard. Like, life is hard. Crazy shit happens to us, right? So instead of trying to shield them from things and just not being realistic, talk to them about it and be a human with them.
Mhm.
Like, tell them, you know what, this is hard for me too, or this is scary for me too, or yeah, I'm really overwhelmed today, or yeah, you know what, I had a hard time getting out of bed and like I felt really sad and cried. Like, you're human too. You don't have to have all your shit together and be some superhero, right? Like, just be real with them. And I believe that that just goes such a long way, as opposed to trying to shield them from everything. And obviously, like, be mindful of, all the detail. They don't need to know every detail or
Yeah, of
anything. Like,
course.
again, it's just about like, how is this going to affect them? What does this look like?
I loved all the things that you said. I mean, I don't have kids, but I loved all the things that you said about like what kids need and what they and how to best frame things for them. I mean, one thing that I certainly have observed over the years and watching, friends of mine who have children getting divorced, and it's like kids pick up on so much more than we realize. So it's like, okay, are you going to continue showing them like an unhealthy relationship that they're going to naturally compare and contrast when they're over at friends' houses who are maybe have parents who have an example of a healthy relationship? Or are you just gonna, do what's best and give them two happy, loving homes and let them
Yeah.
see like, oh, okay, like this can be a good situation versus like mom and dad yelling at each other all the time or making snide remarks or whatever it may be. So thank you
Yes.
for that, what you shared. That was really awesome. So
Yes.
this hour flew by. I'm like, where did the time go?
I know. I feel like we could talk
Thank
for another
you.
hour.
I know. Thank you so much for sharing your story and your insight and your wisdom and just kind of how you've navigated through all of this. I think it's going to be really insightful and valuable to anyone listening. So tell everybody how they
Thank
can get in
you.
touch with you and possibly join your community.
Yes. So you can go to my website, which is mindfullyready.com. It's mindfullyready.com. I'm also all over the social media, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and my handle is at mindfullyready.
Very easy. I love it
Yes.
when it's all simple. It's so
Yes.
great when those handles are available, isn't it?
Yes. Makes things a
Oh
lot
my
easier.
God. It certainly does. Awesome. Well, Leah, thank you. This was cool.
Thank you.
I
Yes, thanks for
loved
having me.
it.
I enjoyed chatting with you.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of the Scarlet Edit. If you loved it, send it to a friend. Open up the podcast app and rate it 5 stars. Leave a review if you're feeling chatty. As always, thank you for being here with me, and we will see you next week. Bye.